It's a great company. Like I said, I wouldn't want to work anywhere else as a sub. I get to craft my own lesson plans, which is my favorite part of teaching. So I love history. I'm like a history nerd. My free time, I like listen to historical podcasts. So I'm deep into the history game. So I get to share my passion to these kids. And I think it really translates because I love talking about history, and I get to put that into a lesson plan and then teach it to my students, which is awesome. My name is Geo Morales. I'm currently teaching 8th grade history and 8th grade English in Sacramento, California. I actually have my master's in history, and I wanted to teach in college, but it's exceedingly difficult to get your foot in the door as a college professor. I was actually advised by a professor to go into teaching high school, middle school, getting experience to make me a stronger candidate. So I started with subbing, and then my end goal is to eventually get my credential and become a full-time teacher. When I initially started looking, I had friends that had subbed for districts before, and they told me about it. And I did a little bit of snooping, and it was a lot harder to find like where everything was. The states and cities have very convoluted websites. I don't understand why their application process is so difficult. Well, Scoop was just very accessible, and you can go on any of the major job hunting platforms and you can easily find it. So in an application process, it's so simple to get started. And financially speaking, Scoop pays a little bit better as well than some of the other districts in my areas. That's why I decided to go with Scoop. In the beginning, honestly, it was the flexibility. If I didn't want to accept something, or if I didn't like where I was, I could be easily shuffled in and out. I had a couple negative experiences, unfortunately, with some schools, and I was able to quickly get out of those and go to different ones that were so much more positive. So that's definitely my favorite thing about Scoot is how flexible it is. They also have flexibility with providing you a teaching credential program. I'm actually in TeachStart. I just started classes 4 weeks ago. It's a great program. It's asynchronous, so it works really well with a Sunday schedule. You're usually really burnt out after a day, especially the day-to-day subs. So I save all my work for the weekend. The classes are fairly simple and straightforward, and the teachers make themselves really available. And Hawaii does a really good job of prepping you for everything with different seminars and webinars they have. There's a ton of webinars that you go through before you start classes officially, and it really gets you prepped for your classes. I do a great job of finding financial resources, and they put into the Golden State Teaching Credential, which is like 20 grand from the league. It was really easy to apply. So yeah, I would agree. If you are using this as a catapult to become a teacher, to definitely try that for TeachStart, or at least ask about it. I really enjoy the program. It's really conducive to my lifestyle. So I have my own classroom. I have my own students. I create my own lesson plans. I'm not just picking up day-to-day jobs like before. Also, the respect level is much better when you're a long-term sub because the students see you as their teacher, not just someone who's going to be here for a day or 3 days that they can take advantage of. They know that you're going to be there day in and day out. You're in charge of their grades because I get to craft my own lesson plans, which is my favorite part of teaching. That's why I'm where I get into it. So I love history. I'm like a history nerd. My free time, I like listen to historical podcasts, YouTube channels about history. So I'm deep into the history game. So I get to show my passion to these kids, and I think it really translates because I love talking about history, and I get to put that into a lesson plan and then teach it to my students, which is awesome. The big one is start learning their names, especially depending on where you are. Names can be tough. I have 4 periods. Each period has 20 to 30 students. So I have well over 100 students. So learning all their names can be tough, especially the quiet ones that you never have to correct or don't interact as much as the ones that seek attention. So definitely learning their names, learning things about them, asking them about themselves. My lesson plans typically always have some kind of group activity function, and that's when I go and touch different groups, and like I will ask about, hey, what are you guys thinking about with this lesson? But I'll also ask about them. Like, oh, do you have a brother that also goes here, or a sister that goes here? Oh, what'd you do last weekend? Oh, I like to dirt bike. And then every time I see the students, I like, oh, did you go dirt biking this weekend? Oh yeah, it was so much fun. So you really get to connect with the students. So just getting to know them as much as possible on a human level, I think, is key. Like I said, I just came out of a master's program, and then I'm teaching eighth graders again. So I was really like gun ho about the whole like, oh, I'm gonna lecture up there today, and I'm gonna tell them that. And then I kind of had this like aha moment, like they hate hearing me talk every single day for 50 minutes. Like I shouldn't be just talking and talking at them. I should be taking the material and creating activities for them to interact with the material in different ways other than listening to me talk and taking notes. They're just eighth graders, not even in high school. They're not at that level. So definitely having that aha moment one day where I was just like looking at all the students and everyone had their like faces in their desk, like looking at me with a dead stare. They don't care about the Industrial Revolution that much. It's pretty boring. How can I have my students like history without having to in front of them too? So that was pretty much it. Just making it fun, experimenting with different forms of pedagogy. My first placement was in the roughest neighborhood in Sacramento. I was placed in the middle school that's adjacent to the high school. The high school has the reputation of being one of the worst high schools in the city with the worst facilities. I think it's the oldest school in California, technically, and you can see it in the school. It's falling apart in some places. It's a high need population. So I just had a bunch of students that were just acting up, and this was like day-to-day subbing. The school had a dean of behavior. Like this person's job was just to monitor the students, and he like noticed I was having a bad time. He kind of came up to me and he's all like, all right, this is what you have to do. And it's like, I know you're new here. You're probably going to be subbing here a lot. So this is exactly what you're going to have to do. So, and I would say for definitely anyone coming in, just ask for those resources from the beginning, because after he told me how to run everything, it didn't go that much better, but it did help my day quite a bit. It helped out a lot, especially with the worst of students. Yeah, it was tough. The kids were great. It's just they're coming from bad places, a lot of them, and it's just they're not their normal teachers. They tend to take advantage of the subs, especially there. And my biggest one is find a bathroom. Honestly, you're like in a new place. You don't know when your breaks are gonna come. Sometimes the school might have huge needs. So from that school, the school was a little bit rougher, so students weren't allowed to like just go from one class to the other. They were supposed to be walked from one class to the other. So that means as a teacher, you never really have a break other than when the students go to recess or when they go to lunch. I'm a big water drinker. I drink about a gallon of water a day. So by third period, I was like, when am I going to get my break? And then, so definitely find the restroom. Also, bring snacks, bring water, bring a lot of coffee. You're going to need it. And definitely prep for self-care because it can be a tough job. So bring little things that will make you happy throughout the day. How would they do it? It's a great company. I've had nothing but great interactions. My main contact, Daniel, here in Central California, is fantastic. Even like calling me on weekends when I was having a really bad time with it. He called me like on a Saturday, just checking up on me, making sure I was okay. So I feel like it's a great company. You get a ton of support. Also, if you are looking for a teaching credential program, they're tied with TeachStart and Orient, and it's been great. Instead of not getting paid to go student teach somewhere, you're literally getting paid as a sub, and you're allowed to use that as your student teaching time. I have two friends that are teachers, and they both had to pretty much, one for a whole year, the other one for 6 months, had to go teach for free out of school, pretty much helping a different teacher. And I know what a pain in the butt it was for them to not be able to have income coming in. It was really tough, having to get extra loans. So I would say do it. It's great. They provide medical insurance, which is also great. If it's in California, we have Kaiser. That is the best medical insurance you get your hands on. So it makes me feel really at ease. Yeah, it's a great company. Like I said, I wouldn't want to work anywhere else as a sub.